Now, what we understand is that there is a plan and there's a goal to actually end world hunger by 2030. And of course, when we look at the time that we have right now, it's not quite a long time that we have. So 38 years since the launch of World Food Day, where are we? What would you report back as FAO as far as this fight is concerned?
Thank you for the question. Actually, FAO was founded, as Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, right? With its main goal being to provide food to the world citizens, right? And you understand that it's just normal that FAO has launched this World Food Day. Now, the World Food Day is meant to raise awareness, of the member countries on the importance of food, for their citizens. Now, we made good progress. Many countries, have achieved what I would call almost zero hunger. Some of them have halved, the percentage of hungry people. Only that, these last 3 years, 2015, 16, 17, we have this rise of the number of hungry people.
Yes.
But there are reasons to that. We can elaborate further.
You can elaborate further, but of course, when you point out to the reasons, I'm happy that you are the one who brings that up, because at the end of the day, we've always seen people in a celebratory mood, saying that we're actually celebrating World Food Day. But with that at the back of your mind, just what you mentioned, the fact that we've seen numbers of undernourished rising 20.8 to 22.7 between 2015 and 2016. It begs the question, what is there to celebrate on this line when you think of that in this sense?
Come again, what is?
Yes, what is there to celebrate when we have these numbers of undernourished rising from 2015 to 2016?
Well, we keep our goal of combating hunger, right? As I said, we want to raise awareness of member countries. Now, when we know the causes, the reasons why there is this rise, then member countries have to take actions to combat the reasons behind this, right? And we know the reasons. You want me to mention them?
One of them is conflict.
Conflict.
Climate change.
And extreme poverty that prevent people from getting access to food. That's what we have there. And that's what we need to address if we want to change the course and go back to our success story that we had before the last 3 years.
Right. And of course, another issue that we need to, I think, address is, or handle, is the issue of the projected population explosion for Africa. Because what we understand is the fact that by 2050, the current population could double. And of course, some people have always said or asked the question, where will the jobs come after this population doubles? But the real question that I would like to ask you, where do you think the food will come from for this population?
Well, actually, feeding the population, the increasing population of Africa is not a main issue. Of course, we have to keep an eye on the population growth, but we have the resources to feed this growing population, provided that the policy measures, the institutional environments are conducive to that.
Are they conducive today?
Well, they are not fully conducive. Look, for example, we're talking of people, the number of people, hungry people going up because the policy environment, the institutional environment are not, conducive.
So the population issue will still be an issue because you said that it should not be an issue.
Exactly, but that's why we have to remind our member countries to take the policy measures that are needed to feed the growing population. Okay? And when we're talking policy measures, maybe you want me to mention what we're talking about.
Yes.
Well, take for example, we used to say that agriculture equals land plus water. Okay? We need to solve any issues preventing access to land. For the youth, for people who want to engage in agriculture. Okay? We have to make sure that water is available. We're talking climate change. When we talk climate change, it's true that it goes with excess of rainfall or dry spells. It comes down to management of water, making sure that when we have dry spells, we can provide water through irrigation. And when water is in excess, well, we can manage water through drainage.
Right. Right.
Those are the policy measures we're talking about.
That is policy measures. Of course, it will be interesting to find out how you are actually ensuring that they are actually implemented. An interesting thing that I've also seen is the levels of stunting have been declining. The numbers of stunted growth is actually declining, but the levels of overweight and obesity is actually rising. We have people who feel that when they are big, then that means, or when they're overweight, that means that they have actually eaten well. And so I want to read your thoughts on this, fluctuation of things, if you may.
That's interesting. You see, actually, we're talking hunger, but we are addressing actually the malnutrition issue. And malnutrition has two branches. Yeah. You have the striking visible hunger, the inward belly, if I may say, people, that's striking. And then you have obesity. Yeah. The outside
they're eating, but they're not eating quality food.
They are not eating quality food. That's the thing. Yeah. They are not eating quality food. It's not always that their decision. It has to do with what we call the food system. Particularly this obesity we're talking about, it's there in cities. Because people are eating more and more processed foods, okay, with food additives, and processed foods that do not have always, the nutritive elements that they need to keep healthy. So the World Food Day is addressing not only hunger, hungry people, but also this obesity, because all this comes down to malnutrition. Right. Now, how do we correct obesity? We need to have in place policy and food systems that allow people to get access to fresh food that are rich in nutritive elements. Right. Taken away by processing and all this.
Taking away the processing, but of course we also understand the insects question that has actually come up to the point of debate whether they are game changers in ending hunger, because one, they say they're available, they're nutritious, but today's generation, I mean, those who used to eat those insects in the villages, today they don't want to eat that. They want to eat the fast foods and all that. Your take on this, the role of insects here?
Well, insects can be very, very nutritious. Now, the only problem is the mindset that we have. Yeah. But you have to realize that in Africa, in Asia, there are communities who are just familiar with eating insect, right? So they have no fear about this one, eating insect. But insects, many of them are very rich in protein, and they are cheap in terms of production. Yeah. Instead of producing, let's say, chicken and so on, you can have the same protein, animal protein, with substantially less production cost if you go for insects.
So indeed, they could be game changers.
Now, definitely. Now, people, that are scared by eating insects, they are scared when they see insects. If you process them nicely, they don't realize anymore.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you so much for your time. I would have wanted to know your favorite insect in this line as far as delicacy is concerned. Which one?
Well, let me tell you this. Before I left Rome for Rwanda to take up duty here, well, I've eaten this insect. How do they call them? It is an insect which is actually a pest for the chibata tree. Yeah. It's a pest, but that people eat. We did eat